Hi guys, a lesson on sketching parabolas by completing the square. Completing the square was a technique we used to factorise quadratics in our last unit, and it actually comes in handy when you try and find out the x-intercepts of a parabola as well. So, turning point of a parabola can be read directly from a rule in the form of this here. Okay, so this here. It may not look familiar, but it's actually, when you complete the square, you get this form. A is called the dilation factor, so thickness, and it changes the thickness and thinness. The two things that determine the turning point are the horizontal translation and the vertical translation. Okay, we call that H and K. Okay, so this type of equation can be obtained by completing the square, and it's often called turning point form. Okay, so just an example down here. This is already in turning point form. It's already been completed. The square's been completed. It's a difference of two squares. We can read directly off it. Okay, so this plus 4 tells us that the turning point has moved -4. Okay, remember a plus goes to the left, goes to the right. Okay, and this second piece here, -5, means that the turning point has shifted from the origin to -4, -5. Okay, so in general, to determine the turning point of any equation, we complete the square. Okay, and that's why it's useful to us. Alright, so an example. Okay, this one is from the book, and the question is, find the turning point at x and y intercepts here. So let's start with the easiest thing to do, because it's already the square's already been completed. We can directly read off the turning point. So let's do that first. So turning point, I write TP, and I'm going to keep doing that from now on. Okay, now if you look at the first number here, this -4, that doesn't actually tell us about anything about the turning point. It tells us about the dilation. Alright, now -1 actually shifts the turning point in the positive direction. So we're going to say the x, and the second bit is the positive 16. That will actually shift it up 16. Okay, so we could mark that on a graph if we wanted to. The second thing we're going to do is let's do the y-intercept. So y-intercept, and we let. Okay, so this is a little bit different to a standard quadratic equation. It doesn't just end up being that 16 there. So let's work through that. So y, -4, now in brackets we get 0 because the x is 0, -1. Alright, let's work all that through. Brackets first, -1 all squared. Now -1 squared is 1. 1 times -4 is -4. So y intercept. Okay, we can mark that on. We'll do the we'll mark all this on a, even though it doesn't say to do it, we'll mark all this on a set of axes at the end. Okay, now x-intercepts occur when we let y equals. Okay, so let's go back to the original equation, make y equals 0. I like to put it at the end, so I'm going to rearrange it so it goes. Okay, so ordinarily, if you just look at this, you sort of think, first of all, it's not a difference of two squares because that is not a negative number. Okay, but what we've got here is we've got this -4 out the front, which we have to deal with. Okay, before we actually factorise it. So what we actually do is we divide. We have to do it to this side as well, so that we don't have that leading coefficient. Okay, so what happens is there's two terms in this equation here. That will cancel out those. Alright, and leave me with x -1 all squared. Now 16, okay, this is the second term here, also has to be divided by -4. 16 divided by -4 is actually equal to. Okay, so now we have something a little bit more friendly we can work with. Okay, this is the difference of two squares. Hopefully you remember how to deal with these. Okay, 4 is actually 2 squared, equals 0. Now we use the difference of two squares rule, -2, x -1 plus 2. And that will give me x, what do we get? -1 plus 2 is +1. Solving that out, we will get x values equal to +3 and -1. Okay, the other important thing about this one, which I didn't mention before, you work this out if you, as long as you put on the, if you follow the 3 points, you've got 3 points to. But is this a minimum or maximum type? Okay. This number here, if that's negative, it's a maximum type. So yeah, that gives you another idea. So I'm just going to sketch this graph here, okay, with all this important information. So first of all, we've got our y-intercept, which is at 12, so that's up here somewhere, 12. I've got a -1 and +3. What else do we know? The turning point, which was at 1 and 16, so that's up here somewhere, okay. So should look like is parabola. So that's how you draw this. Okay, that'll do for this video. I'm going to come back and do a couple more where you actually have to complete the square